Three CPAP stories to change your perspective and help you succeed with your CPAP. Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm your host, your CPAP coach. And I want to go through three stories that are pre selected, mainly true, definitely true stories. These stories I pre selected mainly because of the problems that these three individuals had. Now, the problems that they had are problems that are super common. So stick with this story because it's more than just stories. It is information that can help you be successful with your CPAP. The three stories, starting from last to first, there was a cowboy I set up, a trucker with a surprise who I set up, and believe it or not, a a pilot that I set up. We're located in South Alabama, pretty close to Eglin Air Force Base, and it was a retired fighter pilot, but I definitely set him up, and his story is remarkable. Take a look at this. He literally flew jets like this. And whenever I first saw his information, obviously not met him yet, but I read all of his information and discovered that he had a tremendous, very large number of apneas through the night, a number over 100 through the night. And so with that many apneas, I knew right off the bat we needed to take care of this guy, as I always did with all patients, of course, but especially with this guy. Then I took a look at his file. And look, guys, back in the day, you can see I've got a little age on me. So I started setting up CPAPs way back in 1988. And back in the day, we used to receive a file to go set up a CPAP patient. We gathered all of the equipment we needed. And then we actually drove to the house, sat down at the kitchen table or the bar, and went over and reviewed all about the CPAP. That's really the reason I started this channel, because I realized that those days are gone, and now often people are just shipped a CPAP with very little to no instructions. I read this fighter pilot's address and started on my ride down in rural Alabama. He was obviously retired, and it was a very, very long drive way out into the middle of nowhere, Alabama. Once I got there, I realized that he had a really huge barn. I mean, it was gigantic. And I was thinking, wow, I wonder what's in there. Attached to the front of the barn was like a little small house. I mean, very small, maybe 400 square feet. There wasn't much in the house. He was alone. And so we went and we set up the CPAP. And as we began to set up the CPAP, I tried the first mask on him, measured, made sure it was all right. Everything seemed fine. Well, I gave him all of his instructions. I left. A couple of days later, he gave me a call. He wanted to try a different mask. So the first mask we tried was a full face mask over the nose and over the mouth. And he complained about just how uncomfortable it was. Although that is the one that was used in the sleep lab, it really was more uncomfortable at home than it was even in the sleep lab. So we tried a nasal mask, a nasal only mask. His concern, like yours may be, was that with only a nasal mask, is my mouth going to come open, the air go in my nose and right out my mouth? Well, because of that, we went ahead and put a chin strap on also, just a gentle chin strap along with just the nasal mask. Guess what? One, he was way more comfortable with the nasal mask. The chin strap was perfectly adequate to keep his mouth closed, so he breathed only through his nose. His therapy was great, and after a couple of weeks of using the chin strap, he was even able to just get rid of the chin strap, nasal mask only. This man today is still doing well with his CPAP. Well, on that first night, let me back up. After having set up the CPAP, he said, "Chris, you want to see what's in the big barn back there?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he commenced to show me what he had in the barn, and I was shocked. Uh, Although he had formerly been a fighter pilot, now he was dealing with experimental aircraft, and he offered to actually take me for a ride in it. I definitely declined to do that. I mean, I'm not really a big chicken or anything, but that thing did not look like it needed to actually have me in it. So I definitely said no. If you would definitely comment if you've had a positive experience with your CPAP, drop a comment for us. Let us know, even if it's just a thumbs up, but let us know how many years you've been using CPAP and also which mask you actually use right now successfully. It's always good for people to hear about that. All right, so our next one that I want to share with you was a trucker. And I promised you that there would be a bit of a surprise with the trucker, but there are very, very many people out there, truckers, who actually use CPAP partly because it has become, required by law that if you're driving a truck, that you actually do have to take some testing and make sure you don't have sleep apnea. And often we find that the trucker does indeed have sleep apnea. Well, I received this file and I saw that the person who I was about to set up was a trucker and had some moderate amount of apnea. And to my surprise, when I arrived at the house, it was not your standard average trucker that I met. It was actually a female trucker, a young lady who had been driving trucks for just a few years, got her sleep apnea test, and discovered that indeed she did have sleep apnea. Now, with moderate sleep apnea, um, the severity of the sleep apnea and the pressure that is prescribed does not correlate directly. In other words, what I'm saying is if you have severe sleep apnea, it does not mean that your pressure automatically is going to be high. Now, it might be, but it doesn't mean that for certain. So if you have moderate sleep apnea, it doesn't mean you're going to have a moderate pressure. So in her case, she had moderate sleep apnea, but she had a very high pressure setting per the prescription. And so after having set up the CPAP, we started noticing, and she gave me a call and explained that she had a lot of pain in her stomach, and she wasn't really sure exactly why that was, but every time she used the CPAP, she would wake up in the morning with just a lot of gas, a lot of pressure, a lot of pain, burping, and other things going on in that digestive system. We call it aerophagia. And aerophagia is just a big fancy name for meaning air is getting into your stomach. So with CPAP, it's often the person with the very high pressure that experiences the aerophagia. What's happening is if you think about your anatomy, you have your airway that you breathe in through your mouth or your nose. It goes through your trachea and into your lungs, right? Well, right next to the trachea in your anatomy is your esophagus. Goes in your mouth, down your esophagus, and into your stomach. So the tube, we'll call it, that is the trachea and the esophagus are right next to each other. If this is the front and this is the back, here's your trachea, here's your esophagus, and it's really easy for if your airway is if you're actually swallowing the air for it to just go into your esophagus versus into your trachea. So the solution for aerophagia, I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. One, if it's possible, talk to the doctor about a decreased pressure. Sometimes a little bit of a lower pressure can make a huge difference. If that's not possible, or even if you just want to try this in addition to having the doctor lower the pressure, make sure that your neck is level. If your neck is leaned far back while you're sleeping, or if it's leaned far forward while you're sleeping, you're going to have problems. And one of those problems might just be aerophagia. So decreasing the pressure, making sure your neck is perpendicular with your body, like level like this while you're lying down sleeping, that's going to make a huge difference. And also, a lot of you guys and gals are using the full face mask, but keep in mind, like on the first story that I told here, that actually it's better, way better, if you can do CPAP breathing only through your nose. So just because you have a full face mask, that does not mean that you have to breathe through your mouth. It's better to keep your mouth closed, put a little suction with your tongue, at the roof of your mouth and pull your teeth together, not clenching though, but just together. And you'll probably create a little bit of a seal with your lips. This is inside of the mask, and likely that will be enough to just make all of the air go in and out through your nose. That is, there are some caveats if you have a severe deviated septum, if you have a bad cold. Sometimes the cold just solves itself, and sometimes it doesn't. But really, breathing through your nose is optimal. So if you can do it that way, do it that way. If you need a chin strap, try a chin strap, and also possibly just lower the pressure a little bit. That will sometimes be all that's needed to solve the problem. The third story I want to tell you about is the cowboy. And so I did set up a cowboy. Obviously, I'm in South Alabama. There are rodeos going on all of the time. I've set up more than one cowboy, but this one in particular was super, super interesting in that the way that it all went down. This cowboy was generally, actually a rodeo cowboy. And he indeed did wear his cowboy hat and his cowboy boots all of the time. So I knew he was a cowboy when he came into the shop. And so by this time, people were coming into the shop. And so I set him up, and he did really fine for about the first week. And then a week later, he came back into the shop again, and he was just super, super frustrated with the CPAP. And he told me that he's going to have a solution with the mask that he's using, because the one he had was absolutely super, super uncomfortable. So we tried in the shop a few different styles, a few different sizes. There's the full face mask that goes over your nose and over your mouth. There's the nasal only that we talked about just a little bit ago. It's the triangle that goes over just your nose. And then there are the nasal pillows, which are just these small little soft silicone pillows that seat right at the edge of the nose and seal up right there. Then lastly, there's a hybrid one that's sort of the nasal pillows, and it goes over your mouth as well. Well, we tried all of them with him there in the shop and settled on the hybrid. So he took the hybrid home, and I didn't hear from him again for a couple of more weeks. And here's where the story really, really gets good. He literally came back to the shop with a box, and he brought the box. He placed it on my desk and said, "I'm done here. Take all this back. I'm not going to do it. It's just too frustrating. The mask is too uncomfortable." And so he left. And a couple of days later, I scheduled with him that I asked if I could just bring it back. I had another idea we wanted to try. And so I took back the box of his stuff with a new mask that had just came out, and it was the F20 full face mask. It was a better than the ones from the past, more comfortable. And so we had a discussion, and the discussion was regarding horses. And if he could just think of the mask as similar to riding a horse or breaking in a wild horse. And so he started, pondering on that whole idea. And it turns out that with just a change of mind on the way he was looking at it, instead of thinking of it as like a medical thing, he put it into a format in his own mind that he could relate to really well. So he started thinking of himself as the horse, the mask as the saddle, and the person riding is his health, his overall health. So we talked about health and how super important it is to actually be able to endure and stick through it, and to not ever quit, not ever give up. Using these mind tricks, he laid in the bed, and he actually, was able to use that analogy in his own mind, and understand that it's so important with your health overall that you really have to try to make yourself use the CPAP. And thinking of it that way, it made a big difference for him. And so in the end, he was able to literally get through the difficulties of using CPAP, and actually trying the new mask helped a lot. And the F20 is now actually an old mask. It's been around a very, very long time. But this particular cowboy, just by changing his attitude, his perspective, his way of thinking of it, he was able to actually make it so that he was able to use his CPAP and be successful using CPAP. So, of the three stories that we've talked about, we talked about the fighter pilot, the trucker, and the cowboy. The fighter pilot, lots of leaks. The trucker, aerophagia. The cowboy, really just a mindset change. So these are very, very common. If you happen to be dealing with any of these problems or others, take a look at other videos on the channel. There are tons of tips throughout all of those videos. I'm here for one reason. I'm here for you. I want to help you solve your problem with CPAP so that you can use your CPAP and get some really, really, really great sleep. So thank you for being here. I do have one video I want to share with you. If you are interested in getting some more training, as the type of training that I used to give back in the day when I would come and sit at your kitchen table, then let me encourage you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and also join the channel. Join as an ambassador. Take a look at this video right here. It'll share a little more information with you. Almost all CPAP problems can be solved and reversed with only one small piece of information. Are you struggling with CPAP? Did you get all of the CPAP training you need? Up to 50% end up quitting CPAP. Persistent sleep apnea causes so many health problems that it must be treated successfully. I'm Chris, your CPAP coach. I have set up thousands of CPAPs and followed each and every one after. If you are still struggling, there is something you can do. First, don't quit. Don't give up. It can get better. Second, build your knowledge. The more you understand, the more successful you will be. That simple. That's why I have compiled a series of videos and quizzes with laser focus on CPAP knowledge that can be used to overcome CPAP problems. Hundreds of tips and 30 years of experience knowledge to help you find that one all-important small piece of info you need. There are two different levels to join the channel. One is the supporter level, where you get shout outs during the lives, also emojis and badges. Now, if you want to see these important instructional and educational videos, join at the ambassador level. I encourage you to do so. Please join the channel today. Support us. See these beautiful videos, and good luck to everybody. Get your sleep back. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all being here. I hope you have a wonderful night of wonderful sleep in the REM, rapid eye movement, deep sleep era. And we'll see you next Thursday. Y'all have a good night. Thanks. Bye.